What's up, everybody? Welcome to season 2 of F.L.O.W Presents. I'm excited to be here, and I am Rob Harris, also on IG as @coloriseverything, and I'm geeked to be back at this kind of space and place. We love having these discussions. Consider us like your Saturday breakfast club in the evening. And so first, let me introduce my hosts, my teammates, my roll dogs. Introduce Chandra. Come on in. We appreciate you. And Sim Petty. So excited for y'all to be here with me today. And if everybody doesn't know what F.L.O.W Presents is, it is a space for young adults to talk about things that impact young adults. And that term young adult, I use very loosely. I essentially mean adults, because once you turn 18, the government's going to arrest you like an adult. And we should treat you like as such also. Though we recognize that some of the spaces that we exist in, young adult is a term that covers anything from 18 to 35. And so, yeah, we got a mixed group here. We hope everybody enjoys the show that we have for you today. Our new series, Resetting for the Goal. I don't know what your goal is, but sometimes you need to pause and reset. And we're going to talk about rest today after we get into this brand new segment. We try to bring out something fresh. In this season, I wish they would. All right, man. I wish they would is a new segment we're bringing to you where our director, our background home dog, Alex, will give us a topic, and we got to say, I wish they would, and whatever that is. You, as our audience, tell us what you think the best one is. All right. What's the topic for today? Let's see what we got. Suspense. I wonder if he's thinking about something to challenge us. Church. Of course, we got to start off with church. Okay, all right. Who feels like they want to go first? I wish they would.
I'll go first. If you were on my Facebook this week, you know I was on a bit of a roll earlier this week in regards to the church. So I wish they would stop judging and start apologizing.
Ooh, I wish they would. I don't know if you're talking somebody specific, but I feel it in my spirit.
Yo, the cat fits.
So I'm a piggyback off of that one, and I'm gonna say I wish they would handle conflict better. I feel like the church handles conflict pretty poorly, and a lot of it, people, instead of talking face to face, there's a lot of gossiping that goes on, and we just need to come correct.
Oh, I wish they would. I'm gonna go the other direction. I'm gonna absolutely go tongue in cheek. I wish they would try to bring these services back to 3 hours on a Saturday, because I know I'm not going to be the one right there. So I wish they would, and see how it's going to be impactful right there. Let us know whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube what you wish they would. Again, it could be tongue in cheek, or it could be something that you actually wish would be a change. This is our brand new segment. If you watch the show, you'll know that we'll be doing this each week. If you join the show, come prepared with, I wish they would. Now,
So just Rob, quickly
Mhm.
before somebody put in the chat there from Facebook, I wish they would have snacks, and that's
Facts.
facts. And
that's
if they try and go back to the 3 hour, service, they need to have,
I wish they would
refreshment.
have some snacks.
Exactly.
There are some
Um,
churches though that have snacks. I've been to a couple, and it's
how
not the
long they
Dollar Tree
service?
versions either.
How
Yep.
long they service?
They're name brand snacks.
All I'm asking is how long they
Services,
service.
nah, services like an hour there, 90 minutes
Oh, that's
tops.
some high end stuff. That's
Wow.
that new
Yeah.
age, non denominational type service, man. When they got the full complimentary suite in the front, the coffee bar,
The juice
Starbucks in the
bar.
corner.
Yeah.
Yo, shout out to my gen church. I give them the shout outs. They don't start till Sabbath school starts at midday.
That's what I'm
Divine
talking
service at
about.
1. So,
Okay.
Oh man. So again, excited to start off with our new segment. I wish they would. You saw the really dope intro. If you are a faithful follower, you come on the show, please be prepared with I wish they would. Now, let's get into the body of this discussion. So the last time Flo was on, guys, I think the last show we presented was sometime, I want to say June, maybe, if not a little earlier.
I think
Um,
earlier.
a little earlier. And I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I think I was a little tired. It was a struggle. We had been doing this for the majority of the pandemic. I think we started really early as the pandemic was at its height. I'm going to say March. So sometime in April, bunch of young adults were thinking about some topics, talking about things in a group chat. We heard some other churches were chopping it up, and we said, look, we got to join the space. We got to put our opinions, our thoughts, come together as a community. And so we did so. And we ran that for about a year straight, nonstop. Every month, just about every Saturday, we gave you topic after topic. We had discussion after discussion. And then the pandemic kept going. I don't know about y'all, but it wasn't what I was expected. And so we had to pause. Like we hit a hard pause. And I know the team that I work with, we were all feeling it and we had to reset. And here we are today, October 2021, and we're back at it. And we thought it was honestly apropos to talk about our own experience because we felt other people might have felt it as well. This idea of how do you pause? How do you reset for the goal? So I want to open it up for my team, Sim Petty, Chandra. Tell me, when did you realize that you needed to reset?
I can't even lie. It was
Heavy size.
like, because for me, it doesn't come very easily. So resetting or just rest is usually what my body tells me. But my body's like, all right, chick, we've kind of, we've reached our threshold. Please pause here. It's like pull over on the 95. We're not making it to the next exit. We're not, we can't go a few more miles. This is it. So, yeah, that was basically it. I was done, like mentally just about checked out. And I knew I had to do something if I expected to be expected myself to be a functioning human being in all in the different spaces that I exist in.
Yo, Sim, do you mind me follow up real quick with that? Because you said it's honestly hard for you. What is a challenge for you with like knowing when to take that break? Because you said you have to listen to your body. Your body's the one that tells you. And I heard you say like, but it's hard. So what's the challenge?
Yo, straight facts, bro. As of somebody told me the other day, there's West Indians and then there's Jamaicans. So I won't say as a West Indian, as a Jamaican.
I support that distinction. I think you
As
guys
a
are very separate.
Jamaican,
Very, very separate.
we just keep going. And then I just have that mentality as well. I mean, you've known me for years and years. I always trying something new, always looking to reinvent myself, invent myself, be innovative. So I'm just constantly on the go. My mind is constantly going. So there's just something to do, like whether it's work, it's church, it's ministry, it's personal life, family. There's just always, for me, there's always something to do. So to stop, it's like, but this needs to be done, but that needs to be done. And years ago, when I was in college, I remember someone passed away, and someone said to me, look at how they remember the person, right? It was like one day, an assembly. and then things went back to normal. And they're like, that's what happens.
Mm,
So you need to take breaks for yourself. It's okay if you don't go to one class, because you don't cut class. Your parents, their death stare would get you from however many thousand miles away you are. But it was like, look, it's okay. You need to take that break because something happens to you at your job or whatever. People be like, she was a good person, hopefully. And then, job is posted the next day because they got to fill that spot and move on. So is it really worth it? So it's still
mm.
hard for me. So it's really when my body says, yo, sis, you got to do it.
Chandra, man, when did you know you needed to reset?
Um, Similar to like Sim Petty, like being involved in so many different things from work to different ministries and church and personal life and stuff, and it was kind of getting to that like boiling point, and I was like, I don't want to burn out, and I don't want to
Right.
be at a point where like I can no longer meet the, I don't want to say obligations, but like the things that I had that I wanted to do. Like I definitely want to be a part of everything that I have on my plate. But it's like I was being stretched so thin. And similar, it's like, your body tells you, but also like mentally as well. I was like, okay, you try and get your 8 hours of sleep and that kind of stuff. But it's like, I need to take a mental break from something here. Like, can't check out from work because I got to pay bills, right? Like I can't,
Ooh.
can't check out from family because it's family. You always got to be there and be around to support, So it was like, okay, what's something that we can kind of scale back or take a break from and regroup? And I think, Rob, as you said earlier, we were all feeling it. And then it was just kind of like at one point, I think we just voiced it and other things were happening. And it was like, all right, guys, let's take a break. Let's, and then come back, even
Mhm.
stronger. And so I think maybe the break was probably longer than we anticipated, but sometimes it's good, like I remember reading a meme on Instagram. It's like, before you could take those 15-20 minute naps and get back up, and keep going. But after like 30, when you take a nap, that nap ends up being 2.5, 3 hours long. And you're like, oh, wait, where'd the time go? But it's like your body needed that. Your mind needed that break.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so, I'm glad that we've had this pause because it's allowed me to reevaluate a lot of different things and a lot of areas in my life and just kind of realize, well, what's bringing me joy and what do I need to focus on and where can I shift my energies into doing that kind of stuff. So
Man, to our audience, I want to first ask everybody who's watching, who's right now sticking with us, how do you know when you need to reset? Because I think some things that Simpeti and Chandra shared here are so key, crucial. I think Simpeti, you spoke to the the challenge with knowing when to reset because you're so cultured to just do, having to listen to your body. And then Chandra, I heard you kind of having an awareness of it, right? Like there's this consciousness you have of like, I'm starting to get there, starting to feel like I'm checking out, but needing to pull back. So I need to know from my audience, right? Like, how do you know when to reset? I see here, Faithful, she's a part of the team, even though she's in the chat right now, but she's definitely a part of the team. Landy, the struggle between listening to your body and seeing things that need to be done is real. That is fact. But I'm gonna pivot right quick. I want to get back to that. Chandra, you said something that I think I gotta bring up. So if you're somebody that's in ministry in one way, shape, or form, right, or you just involved in extracurricular activities, what do you reset from? Because Chandra, you said like, hey, I can't reset from work because I got to pay bills. And so I feel like you kind of jumped a little bit. I'm sure there are other things in there, but you realize like, hey, maybe it's this particular aspect of ministry that I have to reset from. So here, just me as a host, we trying to put conversation. Why is it that we always find it easier to reset from church stuff than we do anything else in our lives?
I can say for me, like work, and I've had to do this over the years, like not everything is a cut and dry 9 to 5, but I know when to put my pencil down for work. Like I know when to be like, nope, I'm done. I can pick up this stress, another day. But when it comes to like church and family, I feel like it's constant. There's no like, break. So yes, typically church happens on the weekends, but there's, throughout the week, we're planning, we're organizing, we're having meetings to make sure that whatever program we're putting on or whatever thing is happening is going. And so it's not, it kind of I don't want to say it becomes your other 9 to 5, but it's always there. And so for me, it was like, I don't want to burn out from this, and I want to be able to give it my all. And so, because sometimes things can come in waves, I think, we realize that, just like, every TV show, the season ends, and then there's a little break, and then it comes back. And so I think, Rob, as you said, we did every month, we were hitting up new series, trying to get new guests. And, there's a lot of work that happens in the background to produce what we put out each week. And so at first we were like, every week we're going to do it. We're going to do it, hour and a half shows, all this stuff. And then we're like, all right, let's scale back to hour shows, and then we're like, let's scale back to, 3 weeks out of the month. You know what I mean? So I think we realized that it was like, we were in overdrive for so long, and like that battery was, or the gas or whatever was really, that fuse was coming short. So, yeah, so it had to be something where it was like, okay, this is a good stopping point. It's the summertime, people are going on vacation, doing different things. And so we realized, like, hey, let's take that pause. And like I said, I think now we have a better game plan. It also just helped me to have a better game plan in general of like, all right, what are we going to do? And just be able to prepare and plan better so that we don't burn out.
Mm-hmm. I want to circle back. Similar, I want to get you in this is something that you said, Chandra. I guess it's easier to know when to separate, particularly from ministry things, because ministry becomes more life. Like, as you said, it wasn't something that you just or were just bracketed to the weekend. Like, there's preparation during the week. There's meetings that we try to have during the week. There's things that need to be done during the week. And because it has a spiritual component, I want to say that you feel it more, right? You kind of feel the weight of it a bit more. The paycheck to me is kind of like a delayed reward. And so like work is just, you become routine, it becomes really subconscious, and then you get your paycheck good, you go back and do it. But like the spiritual parts of things, like I feel like that weighs on you a little bit more. Maybe that's me. But Sim, what about you? Why do you feel like it might be easier to separate yourself from more the Christian ministry service part of life as opposed to maybe other things in your life?
It wasn't easy.
Okay.
It wasn't. Like, to me, it's all work. It's things that have to get done. I think with the 9 to 5 though, there's more of that immediate ramification, so to speak. Like, if I don't work, I won't get paid. Or I'm a teacher. It's in the midst of the pandemic. It was all about the kids, and I wanted to be like, forget the kids, forget this building, all of that. Like, they'll be fine. Go watch your TED Talk. I love TED Talks, though. I do. I'm showing them up to this week. But
is this your teacher? Is this your teacher right here? Go watch your TED Talk.
Yeah, but it's all work. Like, for me, there's always something that has to be done. There's a lesson that has to be created. There's papers that have to be graded. In ministry, there's topics for us to come up with. There's ideas. How am I doing outreach? What am I doing to really minister to others? So there's a constant goal. The work thing, though, it was more ingrained as just like growing up. Mm-hmm. My parents didn't take time off unless it was vacation, like scheduled. For my dad to take a random day off, sick, nose running. If he's watching, sorry, Pops, but nose running, eyes watering, sick, coughing all over the place. I'm all right. I'm going to work. And I'm like, what the colonizer have over you like that, bro? Like, take the time. But there's like this thing to just work. And I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't feel that bad. I'm going into work. And I realized, nah.
Yo, let's call that out. And let's call out how that's kind of a mindset of the church where you got to always be doing. Like, if you're not doing, are you a good Christian? I think I said that in another space I was in. Like, there's this kind of mentality. I'm sorry, this is a flow space. We keep it a buck. All the way, we kind of push that envelope too, maybe a buck plus. I feel like somewhere along the way, we translated being a good Christian, or some denominations made interdenominational title, being a good blank, means doing. If you're
Yeah.
not doing, you're not a good Christian. Like,
Right.
you're not a good whatever. And I feel like that has not only seeped into the church space, but it's definitely in the world space. And how beneficial is that, right? Like the grind. Can we talk about the grind? The idea that we need to all be in some type of grind, some type of hustle, some type of, continual movement. Do you feel like that's impacted y'all?
Yeah, it's prestigious to be like,
Mm,
I'm on the grind. I'm doing this. I'm
prestigious.
grinding it out. I'm doing my 9 to 5 in the day, and then I'm doing what's gonna bring me generational wealth 6 to 12. You see all these things online. If you're not grinding, what are you doing? And depending on your background, like that's just instilled in you as well. You always have to be doing, and anything outside of that, they say if you're Jamaican and you only have one job, it's like, so what's wrong with you?
Are you really trying?
Are,
If you only have
are you
one job,
really
are you really trying?
are you really trying? Like, I remember being in high school. I went to boarding school, so I did work to pay my tuition. I had a nice little cushy job, so to speak. I was a teacher's assistant, and then I think I sprained my ankle or something and couldn't get to work. So then they gave me a job in the dorm as a receptionist, but I still had my teacher's job. But everyone liked working this place called Industry, where you did packaging. It was basically factory work, and you could get cash there to go to the mall. So I'm in high school, 16 years old. I got a teacher's assistant job, receptionist job. I'm working janitor. I'm going Industry. I'm like, why I have 4 jobs? Why do I have 4 jobs and a full class load at 16 years old? But anybody who knows me is like, yo, you always on the grind. And for a while, it was like, yeah, it's a prestigious thing, until I realized the grind was taking me out. The grind literally deteriorated my health.
Chandra, how'd the grind impact your life, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Like when you're talking about high school, like I remember first day of college, I had 3 jobs. I worked at, student affairs, I worked in the library, and then I did like catering type stuff with the so same thing. It was always like always working, always moving, always doing something because similarly with, Caribbean background, like it's just been instilled and ingrained in you to get to that next level, to keep pushing, to keep pushing. And, just to kind of bring it into present day now and what you see on like social media, and you're like, oh, okay, I think a lot of people try and they look at social media and they either try and be like, okay, well, I'm not there yet. So what do I need to do to get to this
Mm-hmm.
level that I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing
Mm-hmm.
there? Or for me, I love to travel. One of my passions is travel. So when I see people, in the Blue Lagoon in Iceland or in Bali or someplace, I'm like, okay, how much is that trip going to cost me? What else I got to do to get there? So it's like, all right, these are my goals and pushing towards that. But then at the same time, and we talked about this, I think, a lot during our mental health series, we're talking about self-care. And it's like, what does that self-care look like? And a lot of times people are like, oh, well, if you get your massage or your mani-pedi or, this, that, and the other. And for me, I was like, my self-care right now is taking a mental break from like life, kind of, like the ministry. Obviously, like I said before, got to pay bills. But like when I was done on Friday, for me to reset, I enjoy spending time outside. So
Yeah.
trying to get out as much as possible, hiking, biking, going to the beach, whatever it is, spending time in God's creation and really just trying to disconnect from everything that was, the overstimulation of things as well. So
Mm.
it was definitely hard, but I kind of took really to heart this whole, it's what you see on Instagram and all these different posts and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I need to get away from that. I don't really care what they're saying right now, but I need to know I know what I need to do for myself. Um, and yeah, it was just really focusing on that.
Yo, I think this is an interesting topic because again, we live this life, and I'm gonna flip it because I'm on the other end of that. So y'all talk about being, West Indian influence. Maybe I'm just of West Indian descent because I was opposite to the grind. I was legit talking to somebody today and said, I think I was destined for a potential life of poorness. I first wanted to be an artist. Ain't no money in that, right? Now I'm still alive, so I ain't dying nothing. Then I wanted to be a teacher. Definitely no money in that. So wasn't no grind in there. And then I decided to be a therapist. And while there is some money in that, there is a grind associated to being a therapist. Like if you're going to be a private practitioner, have your own private place, then you got to be grinding so people can get, you can get clients so you can have money to feed your bills. That's not me. I am anti-grind. I think the grind is exhausting. Trying to work to obtain something is exhausting. So we put out there to our audience, I'm lazy and I'm okay with that. I understand it. I'm working on it. The Lord's working on my heart.
And probably your wife too.
But Rob, is that lazy? Is that laziness? I mean, I think that's you knowing who you are and what works best for you.
I'm gonna tell the truth, Chandra. I'm gonna tell the whole truth. It's lazy. It's absolutely lazy. Because I look at the grind, and I'm gonna be honest. Like, so you guys talked about how it does impact you. I look at the pressure of the grind. Like, there are some times that I feel like, man, I am not doing enough, right? Like, I should be doing more. As an artist, how many times people tell me, man, you only paint once in a while. You should be painting all the time, right? And if you're a therapist, why don't you have your private practice? Because there is this pressure in the world to do, so that we could achieve. And I think it's in the chat if our background guy Alex pulls it up. Somebody says it's that boss mentality, right? Like everybody wants to be a boss. Everybody got to be a boss because a boss is able to do what they want when they want. And so the only way to be a boss is to be on a grind. And so I honestly felt like I was impacted by that because I wasn't doing a lot sometimes. And I was okay with that. Though full transparency, I recognize this sometimes because I was lazy and I'm oppositional. So when I see the world, everybody trying to go left, I'm the other guy literally trying to push against the crowd to go right, just cuz. So I think there's a balance, right? How do we find the balance in that? Because I think the balance in that is knowing when to reset. The balance in that is knowing like, hey, maybe it's time for me to slow up a little bit. Does that make sense to y'all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you talk about that. I personally don't see you as lazy at all, right? Because you're doing flow. You're a new father. I imagine you're still painting. I see, when you post things on Instagram and that kind of stuff. We were just talking behind the scenes about the new programs that you're working on and learning and that kind of stuff, right? You do other aspects in ministry. So I don't know. I mean, like you're involved in so many things and you're doing a lot of things. I personally don't see that as being lazy. And, maybe it's a grind by a different name, but, I don't know, it's active, it's involvement. It's, whether these things right now or you're doing it to make money or it's bringing you money or whatever. Yeah. Thank you, Landy. First of all, Rob is not lazy. Exactly. So.
No. I appreciate that. Maybe it is a different look and maybe it's a mindset that I have to consider, but maybe that is also the impact of the grind. Like, the grind and how it impacts people like myself who feel like maybe I am lazy because I'm not doing enough. Like you guys all shared your story. It hit me. And it actually hit me after we had all taken a break. So as everyone who's watching know, we were, kicking out stuff. I was really enjoying this space. I believe Flow was going to be transformative. Right now, we may be impacting whoever, and I think there's so much more for us still to do. So we're pushing out this content. We're trying to get everyone engaged, and some people are dropping off, and we getting other people as we go along. I'm feeling it, but I'm not really feeling it. So that's, again, to say around June, we go, at that time, I think it was aware that my wife was pregnant. She was with child, and we started house hunting. So we're house hunting, right? Adding that to the plate. So we're doing that. Oh, I decided to get a new job. We're doing that. Baby comes. We did that, right? And so now we're doing a whole different type of that with baby being here. And I honestly remember looking at my wife because I could not get enough sleep, y'all. Doesn't matter. I mean, granted, there was a baby inside there that's understood, but even before that, I couldn't get enough sleep. Like I was always tired. And we were on a walk one day and I looked at her and I said, yeah, I think I'm tired. Right? Like, dead or not, I think I'm tired. It was at that point that I realized I needed to reset. Because I had ignored my body. The body that was trying to get naps, the body that was killing candy. Like, that's a good sign, man. I don't know somebody out there. If you somebody like me in the chat that when things aren't right with your body, you are killing all the sweets. Shout out to my Crunch Bar family, my golden Oreos, not regular golden Oreo family, right? You know, you hitting up Cold Stone just cause, right? It could be 60 degrees. You're like, it's a good day for Cold Stone. I'm buying it. And so, like you said, my body was like, I started to get a little bit around the sides, right? I was starting to pack on a little extra. The slim fits weren't so slim anymore. And so I realized, like, it might be time for a break. So that was my sign.
I think, Rob, also it's not that, going back to what you're saying before, it's not that you're lazy. I just think you aren't affected by the grind in the same way that Chandra and I have said. So you do things on your own time. It's not because you're feeling an added pressure. Primary pressure is just, I'm painting today because I want to paint today, or I'm going to go for a walk today because I want to go for a walk today. It isn't, oh, I saw this online and it says if you haven't, learned a new trade skill or gotten another degree since COVID, what are you really doing with your life? And now,
Not you haven't gotten another degree since COVID.
I mean, all things are possible.
Right.
But there's some people, that are driven by those things. And that may be the difference. It's not that you're lazy. You're definitely
No.
far from it. You're just working at your pace and not the pace that others have outlined or suggested.
I appreciate that. And I think also it's important with that, to also hear like what I said. I think individuals like myself can still be impacted by that, can still be overworked and pushed to a point when you are exhausted and you do need rest. Today's specific theme, you just got to pay attention to the signs. Like, to everybody watching right now, this topic is important to us because you got to know the signs. I think Landy also put, it's about being self-aware. You got to be conscious of what's impacting you in order to take rest from it, right? Like, you got to know, because if not, you may be engaging in the very thing that's causing you further harm because you're not conscious of it. And so I kind of want to pivot a little bit in this next few minutes. How do we define rest? Like, how do you know that you've actually achieved rest? Let's make it personal for each of us. If you're in the chat, like, how do you know that you received rest? Let's go.
For me, I guess it comes in different forms, right? Like, if I have a good night's sleep, then I'm well, my body is well rested and my mind is well rested. If I find that I now have more time to do the things that I want to do, that means I'm rested because I have properly prioritized and focused and not been lazy and put things off and procrastinated on stuff that I needed to do to get it done and out of the way so that I could focus on the things that I enjoy doing. So for me, rested, good sleep, and then having more time for myself to do whatever it is that I want to do that doesn't necessarily involve work or ministry or other stuff.
What I hear from that is key is capacity. For you, when you're rest, you have capacity to do what needs to be done, or maybe not needs to be done, what you want to do, things that you enjoy. So, like, if I'm hearing that right, we could say that rest equals an increase in capacity, or kind of maybe a reshuffling, right? Or made room kind of thing. What about you, Sim? How do you know you're rested? What's rest for you? Does a Jamaican know what rest is?
Right.
I don't know if I have reached that tier in life yet, but so this summer, yeah, as I said, I'm a teacher, and teachers work all the time. We're always thinking of something. We're always planning something. And this summer I decided, because last year was crap in a barrel. Like, it was crazy with COVID and regular, like last school year was crazy. I usually work summers. I decided to do my regular summer program, 3 weeks. And then I was like, that's it. I will see y'all in September because I have this habit of like popping up in the summer, do something, something. I was like, nope, I will see y'all in September. It's been real. I turned off my email notifications. Um, I checked it once a week because there were some important things that I was looking for, but that was it. Like I had to really take a break from work. Nothing else was driving me crazy the way work had been.
Hmm.
So rest for me was really disconnecting and feeling okay. Getting out of
That part.
bed,
That part.
going to the bathroom, brush my teeth, maybe change my clothes, moving to the couch and watching Chicago PD for 8 hours, watching HGTV, moving from the couch to outside and reading a book and being okay in that
That
space.
part. That
Yep.
part.
Yeah.
Like that was it for me. Like it is okay to do something that you want to do, Sim. Like everyone else will be okay. And so that's when I felt I had some rest. And I planned a trip. I was like, I don't care. I need to go away before this new school year starts, or else I might be on the news. And so I just bit the bullet and I did that. And then I came back and was like, all right, let's do this. And then school started and I was done. But here we are.
So I'm gonna also add, right? So not only is
Amazing.
can rest be an increase in capacity, or some type of readjustment in order to engage in what you need to, rest can also be like separation from whatever, like in clear separation, clean separation, something that you feel okay with. I like that part, you kept saying it too, and being okay with it, knowing that you're not engaged in that particular space. Again, to our watchers, share this because this is not a fancy topic. This is not one of those clickbait type of things. We talking about rest. And I imagine that in COVID, in the pandemic, people feel like this topic is over talked about, and yet people are still exhausted. Yet the mental health numbers are increasing for people with anxiety because they're worrying about the what is, because the pressure was still there. Now,
Mhm.
also, fun fact, I will also add this. I love how I found that people were more stressed having to work from home. I was not that guy. Now, that could be a
Mhm.
reflection of my work at a former job, but I definitely wasn't that guy because I'm like, you're not finna stress me at home. You're not finna think that you're not finna think that you have access to me all the time because I should be able to just pop up on my email now, right? Like, because there was no clear line of demarcation between where work was and where home was. I wish they would. They tried it and it wasn't for me. And I think that's why this topic is so important. I think it's why important that we know what rest is, because some people need to actually separate, right? Like I knew somebody who had a routine. When the laptop was closed down, they would close the work phone, put it on top of the laptop, and put the laptop someplace else. For them, that was an indication that it's time to rest. Um, we got to know what that is. For me, rest looks like I'm more aligned with Chandra. Like if I can engage in the things that I enjoy and not feel exhausted by that also, then I'm at rest. And that's what I got to do. And sometimes it is completely separating from whatever it is that I feel is challenging me, or being intentional about engaging in things that I know bring me joy. During the pandemic, early pandemic, I think my wife and I were going in on Big Bang. Laughter is a good release for me. Like
Yes.
if I get a chance to laugh, it's almost like I literally feel like, oh, all right, like the world ain't that bad. And y'all know me, I'm a clown by nature. And so Big Bang was my go-to. If I was starting to feel like tight and tense, nope, let's go watch an episode of Big Bang. All right, let me see what Sheldon's doing now. Um, Running was a good one, right? And I think it's kind of crazy, right? Because it's an activity, but when I ran, I was allowed to like begin to feel at ease. That helped me get to a point of being rested. So those are some things for me. But y'all got a question: can rest look differently for the different kind of people types? So commonly you have your extroverts and your introverts. Does rest look differently for those type of groups? Any of y'all an extrovert?
I would say that I'm a mixture of both because I don't know. For me, my understanding of introvert is an extrovert is how you recharge and get your energy, right? So I can recharge by myself, or I can also recharge with like a group of people. Not any random people, but like certain people that have, I feel, good positive energy that helps me recharge. So when you're talking about does rest look different? I think when you're mentioning how it created anxiety for people to be at home, and because that routine was pretty much abruptly shifted from like, all right, I get up in the morning, I go to the gym, then I go to the office and I'm there. I will go to, have coffee with this person, lunch with this person, and then go to the gym again after work, come home, do whatever. So I think that having those social interactions be limited so abruptly, and then it only being virtual, I can see how that created a lot of anxiety for people and kind of pressures and stuff like that. And so for me, for somebody that enjoys being around people and being out and about and grabbing coffee, grabbing lunch, with coworkers or with like people that worked, in DC and that kind of stuff, it was hard at the beginning. I have the kind of position where I can work from home some days, or I would be in the office on other days. And then when it was like no office whatsoever, it's like finding excuses to get out. Like, I don't need to go to the grocery store for the 10th time this week. Like, I don't need, what I mean? Like, but it was just to kind of like be around people sometimes. And so I had to shift to how I created, I guess, some of those relaxed environments of like, all right, I've been home long enough, I've been around the same people long enough, I need to get out and do something different. um, and so again, I think it does look different for different types of people.
What about you, Sam? Introvert or extrovert?
I believe I'm an introvert, though I enjoy engaging with people. I was quite content being inside. I spent a lot of time during the pandemic with my fam down in Maryland, and we very easily all be in the house and no one sees each other because we're all in our own spaces, enjoying our alone time. And we'd come together when we wanted to or needed to, and then we'd go back to our space. And that worked for me. I could stay inside. I'll go outside because I like to be outside, but I don't need to be with people. So I'll go outside with my book and sit on the steps, and I'd be quite content with that.
Yeah, I think that's important for us to know, and I'm glad we're able to talk about this for those who are in relationships or have friends and families. A difference type of rest that people may seek, depending if you're introvert or extrovert. Like listening to Chandra say, like, I found a reason to go to the grocery store. I was like, I'm immediately stressed again. Like, that's a lot. I'm good. Right. Because to me, I have to engage. I have to pull myself together. And there's always a chance that somebody wants to talk to you. And again, I wish they would understand my face says don't talk to me. And yet they still talk. Like, I just wish they would understand that. But they don't. And so I think it's important that if you are somebody who's an extrovert, to communicate that to somebody who may not be an extrovert, to say, like, I actually regain energy from being around people. That interaction brings me joy, allows me to feel calm. Because as an introvert, it's the exact opposite. I need less. Like, less is more for me. Like, let's bring it back down to one. And it's hard to communicate this. And I think I've had a friend of mine who we talked, because he and I are introverts, and then we think our partners are extroverts. And it's like, if I let you into my space as an introvert, that doesn't mean I always want you to talk while being in this space. Like, you can be in the space, right? You can move about, but that doesn't mean we need to engage.
Right.
But as an extrovert, like, that's crazy. Like, why can I be in a space with somebody and not engage with them? And so knowing that for you, I know Chandra got something, like, it's important, because I think it can create some issues with trying to find that rest. Yeah, Chandra.
No, I was going to say, I think it's very important to be comfortable in silence, and
Yeah.
and so, I learned that when, I was living with people and I didn't speak the same language. So we
Mhm.
had, we shared a few words, niceties. And then after that, it was like, well, we can't really have a conversation. So I have to be okay with the silence.
Yeah.
And it took a while to adjust, but then it became a very comfortable silence, and it was actually pleasurable sometimes to just go and sit and, as you said, be in the presence of people without necessarily having to engage. Or if we did engage, it was very minimal and it was very, kind of superficial, but then it was just being around. And I think a lot of people don't know how to sit in silence. Um,
Facts.
you can be by yourself in the car, and people are either always, they have to turn on the radio, or they put, I don't know, they're engaging on their phone when they shouldn't be. They should be focused on driving. I remember I was with somebody, and they were like, "Why isn't your radio on?" I was like, "Because I don't need it on. Like, I just like to have this alone, quiet time, and whether I'm praying or just observing what's going on around me." They're like, "Oh, I could never do that." And I was like, "Try it for a day. See what happens of
Give it
just
a shot.
being in silence." And they did, and they were like,
Mm.
it was uncomfortable at first, and I reached for the radio button, but I didn't do it. And they're like, it was hard. So learning to be comfortable in that silence, I think, is very important.
And Chandra, you bring up something that I think we all can adhere to in this day and age. Like, how do you find a pause when we're all plugged in? Like, we are all always plugged in, and it's hard. I think that really makes it hard because not only are we always plugged in, so we're always getting some type of media alert, right? Some type of update, some type of email, or we are wondering because we have these devices what's happening in the rest of the world because God forbid we miss out on something that happens. Like, how do you find rest in a world that's always plugged in? I think that's a unique challenge. I don't know about, like, is that a challenge for you guys, like separating specifically from the devices, from the things that connect you to other people, to the world? Chandra immediately was like, nah, nope, not for me.
Yes and no. It's hard when I'm thinking about its use in other areas. For example, if I'm at work, I like to keep my phone with me because I'm what if something happens to family and they need to contact me? Or in this day and age, what if something is happening in the school and the only thing is for the principal to send a text message? So in that sense, but there's times when I'm on my phone and I'm still missing what's what's going on in the world. Oh, that person was arrested. Oh, this
Yeah.
happened. So it's a half and half for me. We're going back to what Chandra was saying before about the silence, being okay in the silence. For me, I don't need the complete silence all the time. Like me and my radio is fine because the music gives me a peace of mind at times when I'm in that traffic and I've had to wind down the window on somebody. And but the music gives me that peace and help settle this anxiety that sometimes comes over me, especially when like going to work. I have
Mhm.
to listen to a certain type of music because I see some people and DMX comes to mind, and I'm like, I can't listen to DMX in the morning because then I'm gonna go and be like, y'all done made me lose my mind, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning. So it has, for me, it has, music has its place, but I don't need it in order
Yeah.
to survive all the time, if that makes sense. Yeah.
No, I think it does, and I think to the idea of plugging in, the phone is a unique challenge because, like you, Sam, I can have my phone and still be disconnected from the world. Though I do think it does make it easier to access the world or to be accessed. I wonder. There are some times that I've gone without my phone, and you see, like, you come back to the litany of texts, and it's like, oh, I should just kept it near me. Or I get on my wife because sometimes I'm trying to reach her and I'm like, "Yo, where you at?" Like, if it's an emergency, not calling you first because I'm not gonna make it. Love you, but you just not. I'm not gonna make it. But I think I look around, and if you go to any place, I mean, you look at any given community space or just being outdoors, and people can be together and still be so apart because they're plugged into the phone. And I think that does lead into this idea of one not only doing always right because you're following social media, you're plugged in, but I think it makes it hard to really rest. It makes it really hard to separate. And let's push it deeper. I think it makes it hard to be by yourself because you're so plugged in, because you're so connected to the rest of the world that I don't know if we know how to disconnect. Like, I'm sure if I say this, Charlotte's gonna be like, yes, please. Like, can you go to, let's say to Upper Maine, right? Go on a hiking trail and leave your phone behind because you have no reception. For somebody, that's scary because it's like, what? For others, it's like, I'm at peace
Mm-hmm.
because
So
you're apart.
yeah, no, I was gonna say, like, I think, I agree with Simone, and what you're saying about that, but I think there's also, when we talk about fasting, right? Typically it's about fasting from food and praying, but sometimes I think you also need to fast from social media and all that kind of stuff. So I think there is a place where you let people know, you're like, hey, I'm gonna be disconnected for this amount of time. Like, I'm not gonna, maybe you turn off all your alerts and stuff, and then you let the people that typically call you, um to let them know, so that if they're calling you, it's only because of an emergency, right? And so I agree, like, yeah, you want to have your phone because of family, or whatever calling, but yes, can I go to a place where I don't have reception and that kind of stuff? Absolutely. And there's been times where, because I thought I had my phone in my purse, but I'm running around and I leave, I get down the road and I realize I don't have it. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'll be okay, and if not, figure it out, right?
Mm.
There was a time where we didn't have cell phones and, we were okay.
You can remember that far back?
We had a pocket
I'm
full of
dating
quarters.
myself now, right?
We had a pocket full of quarters.
Right, exactly,
Right?
exactly.
Where
It's funny
$5 went for the whole week.
yeah, it's funny because I actually went to a park this morning, to get out and be in nature a little bit, and there was a payphone there, and I was like,
You
man,
lie.
It
no,
worked.
I mean, no, it doesn't work. It didn't work.
Oh, I was
And I
like,
was like, I'm sure these kids are like, what is that device that's on there? It's like this big, it takes the quarter, like all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I mean, if it still worked, that would have been great. I
Mhm.
probably would have made a call just because. um, but yeah, I think it is important to try and disconnect from it all, in a responsible way. Obviously.
Yeah. I think it's also important for us to know who, what, and when we need to disconnect.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that disconnection from everything needs to happen all the time or at the same time.
At the
Um,
same time, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like I love my other half, and when we say, "Yo, let's go do something for the weekend," and it's just us, and we get to go and do something, like that's the time I need to spend with him. But then I'm also okay going away by myself. Like people sometimes I say, "Oh, I went to Puerto Rico," and they were like, "With who?" I was like, "Myself." Who took the pictures? Easy. I propped it up on the table, set the timer.
Timer, right? Like, come on. We
Or
can do
you're
this
like,
stuff.
excuse me, like there's enough
Right.
people around that will take your photo for
With
you.
some people, they're just like, "You
Yeah.
go on vacation by yourself?" Yes, That's how I was born,
Right.
and it is okay. Like
Mm.
I've learned to be okay in
You
that
said that's
space.
how I was born. It hit me. It took me a little bit. I was like, what you mean? Oh, by yourself. Yeah.
And so there's just that understanding as well. For me, it's like sometimes that time is meant for me,
Hmm.
and there's times where I want to be with a specific person or a specific group of people, and others have to take that break. So it's just knowing who that disconnection is needed from, or what it's needed from, and when I need to do it as well in order to get that rest.
Just before we wrap up, we got a few minutes. I'd love to hear, what would you guys share? Like, what's something, an important message you might share with somebody about rest? You just saw that post from Landy. That's hard, right? There are some people that fall into this really unique space now,
Mhm.
in a generation where they have parents that are older and living, but they also have children that are of a certain age that you need to be connected to. Like, how do we all come to find the rest that we need? What would you guys share with that as your close,
Hmm.
or share with others, I should say?
I guess rest looks differently for different people, and it may be um, I know some folks who they have a good network or a good tribe behind them where they could say, I need this weekend, and their tribe steps in and fills in those blanks so that this person can disconnect and have that weekend for themselves, or the 24 hours. And sometimes, and shorter rest is okay as well. Shorter rest may be, you know what, 30 minutes out of my day,
Hmm.
I'm going to read, and unless the house is burning down, do not talk to me. And maybe it's 30 minutes of just scrolling through social media and allowing yourself to be lost in that space. I think the biggest challenge is that we aren't always willing to find out what works for us.
Mm-hmm.
We just take what others say and do it. For some, it's going to the gym. Like that hour at the gym, that is their rest. Phones are in the locker. They're not talking to anyone. So it's finding that thing that works for you, and using it to your advantage.
I appreciate you sharing that. What about you, Chandra? What would you leave with somebody about rest for
I mean,
today?
I think Sim kind of said it all, but going back to, I think it was one of Landy's comments about, that self-awareness, because it's true. I mean, rest looks like different thing for different people. And so I think first it's about taking the time to understand what it is that you need. And then once you figure out what it is that you need, doing it and
Mm-hmm.
being okay with it. And I think that's the big thing, is you need to be able to communicate that to people, and that you need to be okay with it, whether it's your boss, whether it's your kids, whether it's your husband, your wife, your parents, siblings, whatever it is, like, to let them know that, hey, at this time is for me. Like, I need this in order so that I can be better for you. Um, because if you're not at your best self, then I don't think that it's harder, I think, to be your best when you're not at your best self. It's harder to be better for other people.
Mhm.
I believe it, man. I appreciate you guys sharing that. My man Alex, let's run the connection. And I mean, I want to thank you all for definitely being a part of our show today. And really, I just want to leave you for the connection. This wasn't, again, a clickbait topic. It wasn't a super sexy topic, but it's a real thing. And it's something that I know impacts every single one of us. As a team of Flow, we had to be aware, not only individually, but collectively, of what was impacting us, and know that we needed to take a rest. And you know what's awesome about this is that it's actually a biblical mandate, right? One of the things that's actually found in the Bible is this concept called the Sabbath. And it was established well before there was time, well before there was any, for us, a real concept of time, that God said, look, I done did all this good work. It's time for me to pause. It's time for me to be intentional about setting aside time to connect. And that time, he later said, was made especially for us. And so sometimes I actually think it is anti-biblical, it's anti-Christian to engage in what we think is the grind in any areas of our lives, whether that be work or church, relationships, or some kind of personal hobby. It is healthy to find your rest, or dare I say, find your Sabbath. Be aware, be conscious. What is your body telling you? Too much sweets? Not enough sleep? Maybe. Feeling a little short or irate? Maybe it's time you found your Sabbath in that particular area. Doesn't have to be long, but it does have to be an intentional time where you are separate from whatever is causing you stress, and you are making sure you have the capacity to re-engage again. If you don't, you may not have been rested enough. I want to thank you all for watching our show today. We are back on it. We are all set out for the end of the year. We have some great topics. Again, we're keeping it honest, right? We believe in presence, not perfection. And so we're not always going to hit you with clickbait material. Sometimes it will be about the real things of life, like finding rest. So please join us next Saturday, 4:30, same time. We look forward to you being with us. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and share. This is a ministry by the people, for the people. So I thank you all, man, and have a blessed day. We out.